In the last video, we inserted these users into our users collection. In this video, we will face them while covering filtering, projection, sorting and pagination. So let's get started. Now, let's move to the user's data source and create a new suspend function to get user based on the ID. So for that, we can simply say suspend function get user by ID. And we can get ID as a parameter and return a user. Now, to get user based on the ID, we can say something like val result equals users collection dot find. And if you hover over here, this find function takes the filter. So we can add a filter to get user based on the user ID. So we can say filter equals, and we can say filters dot, and we can use the equal operation. So we can say underscore ID. Since for ID we have the key as underscore ID, so we will use that key, and for the value we will pass this ID. This will go through all the documents and get us the first document that matches with this ID, and we can simply pass this filter. Since the result is of type user entity, we need to convert this user entity to user. So for that we can move to this user entity and we can create a new function to user. We can return user, and we can say return user. Now we can move back to our user's data source and we can simply say return and result and to user. Since the result can be null, so we can return the nullable user. Now in our routing file, let's create a GET request with path users, and we can get ID as query parameter. So we can say ID equals call dot query parameters, and we can specify ID. In case if it's null, we can simply return and respond with bad request. Else we will get the user's data source that get user by ID. We can pass this ID and we can simply respond with this user. So respond user. In case this user is null, we can simply respond with not found. So we can say call dot respond http status dot not found. Now we can run our application and try it out. Now in this user's path we can specify the ID. We can say ID equals, and we can get this ID. We can simply copy this, paste it over here, and we can make the request, and as you can notice we got the user with this ID. This way we return single document based on the user ID. Now let's filter the user. So for that let's create a new function filter users, and we can pass the filter parameter like age. Over here we can simply respond with flow of user. Now let's suppose we want to return the users whose age is greater than the age that we get as a query parameter. So for that we can simply say val filter equals filters, and we can make use of GT. So for the greater than, we can specify the field name and the value. Now we can get the result as users collection dot find. We can pass the filter, and if you hover over here, it's currently flow of user entity. Now we need to map it to the flow of user. So for that we can simply say map, and we can say it the to user. Now it is of type flow of user. We can simply return this result. Now we can create a route for this filter user. So within routing we can say get specify path as user slash filter. We can get age as query parameters. So call dot query parameters, and we can specify age, and we need to also call this to internal. then we can simply return and respond with bad request. Now we can get the users by using users data source dot filter user, and we can pass the age, and in response we can simply respond with this flow. Now if we rerun our application, we can specify path as user slash filter and specify the query parameters as 40. In response, we should only get the users whose age is greater than 40. Now if we make the request, and within this preview, you can notice that all the users are having age greater than 40. Apart from GT, we can also use greater than or equal to using GTE. We can also use less than or equal to. All of these are possible. So based on your requirement, you can make use of this. Now we can also combine the multiple filters. So let's suppose we get one more filter as country. Now to combine age and country filter, we can say well filter equals, and we can use filters dot end, and we can say filters dot, let's suppose we want to get all the users whose age is less than or equal to that age we specify. Also we want to make sure that the country is equal to the country we get as request parameter. Now we can pass this filter over here. So now what this will do is, it will check for user whose age is less than or equal to the age that we get from request parameter, and country equals to the country. So using this filter, we are doing this operation. Now let's rerun our application. Okay, before that we need to specify the country. So for that we can get country as well country equals call dot query parameters and specify key as country. Now we can pass the country, and if we run our application, we can also specify the country UK. Let's pass it as UK. Okay, it said bad request. Instead of question mark, we need to have ampersand. And if we make the request again, as you can notice, we get users with age less than 40, and the country is the one that we specified in the query parameters. Now instead of and, we can also have or. So here it will change to this operation. If any of these two filter matches, then it will return that user. So if we try now again, now if we make request again, so as you can notice, we get all the users with age below or equal to 40, or country is equal to UK. So this way we can perform the filtration. We have lots of other filters as well, so feel free to explore them all. Let's create a new function. Let's say function get all users, and we can simply say well filter equals filters dot empty. So using this empty filter, we can return all the users. So we can simply have the return type as flow of user, and over here we can say return users collection dot find and pass this filter and map the result to user. Now let's create one route to get all the users. So let's say get specify path as all users, and within this we can simply say well users equals users data source dot get all users, and in response we can simply respond with this users flow. Now if we rerun our application, now we can change path as all users, make the request. As you can notice, we get total 54 documents as it is starting from 0 till 53, and total we have 54 documents. We get all of them. Currently, as you can notice, we get all the user information. So let's suppose we want to only respond with name and age. So for that, we can make use of projection. So let's define a projection. Let's say val projection equals, and we can say projections dot, and we can specify the fields that we want to include in the result. So we can say projection dot include. Now we want to only include the name and age. Also, let's suppose we want to exclude the id. So we can give a comma projection dot exclude id. So now in the result documents, we will be only getting the name and age. Now we can say val result equals. Now after making this change, like we are only referring to name and age, so for that let's create a data class representing the new documents. User result. Now in this new document we only want to have name and the age. So we'll say name and age. Now we can say val result equals users collection dot. Now we need to use with document class and pass this user result since it has only the fields that we want. So we can pass it over here, user result. Now we can pass the filter. So we can pass find and filter. Also specify the projection, and we can return this result. We can simply say return result. Also we need to change the return type. So let's make it as serializable. Now instead of flow of user, we can simply say user result, and over here as well we will be getting new flow of user result. So now if we rerun our application, make the request again, okay, we get this error, reading field is okay. So for that we can move over here and we can convert this age to int. Now if we rerun our application again and make the request, and as you can see, now we only get the projected field. So only the name and age that we included in the projection. Now let's suppose we want to sort the user based on the age in the ascending order. So for that, we can move to users data source. Over here, we can simply say sort and pass the sorting order. So we can say sorts dot ascending, and we want to have in ascending order based on the age field. So now if we rerun our application, now as you can notice, the user is sorted in ascending order based on the age. So 20, 21 and so on. Currently, as you can notice, we are returning all the users at once. Instead of returning all the users in collection at once, we want to return based on the page number. So for that, we can get the page integer as parameter, and we can make use of limit and skip. So in limit, we need to specify the page size. So let's suppose our page size for each page will be 10. So maximum 10 items will be included in the result. So we can pass the limit as page size, and for skip we can say val skip equals, first we can subtract the page from 1 and we can simply multiply by page size. So let's suppose our current page is 1. So for page number 1 it will be 0. So for first page it will skip no any documents, and for second page it will be 2 minus 1 equals 1 times 10. So it will skip first 10 documents and get the next using this limit. Since we are limiting to 10 documents, so it will fetch the next 10 documents, and for page 3 it will be 20. So skip will be 20 and it will get next 10 documents and so on. Now we can pass skip as skip, and if we rerun our application, okay, we need to pass the page. So we can get page as query parameter. So we can say page equals call dot query parameters, and we can specify key as page. We can convert this to int, and let's give default value of 1. So if page number is not specified, we will return the result for the first page. Now if we run our application and if we make the request, as you can notice, we get result from 0 to 9. So total 10 documents. So let's specify page equals 2, and again we get 10 documents. Now if we specify 5, we still get 10 documents. Then 6, now we get 4 documents since we have total 54. So till page 5 we getting 10 documents, but from page 6 we get only 4 documents which is remaining. And for page 7 we need to get empty. So as you can see, we get empty array. So this way we can even implement the pagination. So that should be it for this video. Thanks for watching and happy coding.